How are you today on this lovely, lovely Easter Saturday? With all the Christmassy eggs.
I'm good. It's not quite as sunny as you. When I looked at my phone this morning, I saw your message. It said a gentle 24, and I was thinking, what's he talking about? And then I went, oh yeah, that's the temperature. Yeah. That's someone who spent too long in Portugal thinking gentle, that 24 and the word gentle go together.
Yeah, 24. It's so interesting watching people move around the world. This time of year, I will see people, if we're going out for lunch or for dinner, particularly lunch, actually, so when it's the middle of the day, it's really, really clear who the tourists are and who the tourists are not.
And the tourists are dressed in T-shirts.
T-shirts, shorts, whereas anybody who is from Lisbon will be wearing a nice pair of slacks, a button-down shirt, and a full blazer.
Yeah. No puffer jackets still?
Oh, no, I did see some puffer jackets at the beginning of the week because it was like, it was only 21.
Yeah, it's like that in Italy too. The first sign, in fact, it's not even related to weather. It's basically on a particular date of the year. Oh, autumn now, and then it's all full on
puffer jackets.
Yeah. Because they have a whole thing about the air, the wind, and getting sick from the air.
Oh, I love this.
Well,
That's very
really, I don't.
It's very traditional Chinese medicine.
It's very traditional. I think European old school. Woo! I don't know. The words failed me. This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
Have you got anything to bring to the table today?
I've always got something.
Oh, because this is how you roll. You're a man with full hands.
Yeah, and, you've got a choice. Which lucky content do you choose?
So, have you got them in your hands? Like, do I just pick left hand or right hand?
No, you have to go red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. You have to choose. And then I'm going to open it up. Which should you choose?
Blue.
I love how you took a bit of time. Hang on. Just getting a bit of Foley. You choose idealism. So, very good. I wanted to tell you a story from 1991. And I was in New York City, which now smells like dope. Even the airport smelled like dope.
Did it?
Yeah, it's all because it's all legalized. And so it smelled like cheap, shitty marijuana. It was actually revolting.
That was a question I was going to ask because...
the airport.
Have you noticed that England smells like weed a lot?
Not nearly as much as New York's JFK airport. But, no, I haven't noticed that. I've definitely noticed it more often.
But I'm always disappointed by the quality of the weed that I can smell. It's all smells like really dank. It's like, ooh.
It's a horrible smell, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas if you go there are some places... It depends actually where I am. Totnes has usually got some quite nice fragranty stuff. But if I go into a city, it's like, this smells, I don't like this. Yeah,
so basically we're dealing with class here and being snobs about the quality of marijuana that people are smoking.
I'm being snobs about the quality of the smell that I have to endure as a non-marijuana smoker. So yes. I don't think I'm being a snob so much as I'm saying that doesn't smell nice, that does smell nice.
Yeah, so you're not saying, how dare they smoke cheap marijuana?
Oh, God, I've got nothing to say about that whatsoever. All I'm saying is, could you possibly, if I've got to manage it on an olfactory level, could you give a care to somebody who's got to walk past the waft? That's all.
I don't think it's probably high on their list of things to be concerned about, but I don't know that.
Probably should be. Probably should be.
So, yeah, I was in New York City in 1991. I spent... no... It does now.
Doesn't then. Does now.
Yeah. I mean, it was still pretty edgy.
Yeah.
And it was also still greed is gooding.
Okay. Very
Sort of yuppie.
What's his chops called?
Sheen. No.
Well, it was Charlie Sheen and it was Michael Douglas, but I was trying to think. Gordon Gekko was the name I was trying to come up with. And
Gordon Gekko. Well done. And I do remember actually that film. I remember some friends from high school. When was it? When was that film? 87?
Ooh, I think 87, 88.
So we would have just left high school, and I remember some friends from high school being quite like, it was like they were seeing it as a call to arms.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting. I remember thinking, why don't you realise it's actually a cautionary tale?
I think there's quite a lot of things that people don't quite twig are cautionary tales.
Perhaps I remember it as a cautionary tale, but perhaps it isn't. Perhaps it really was a celebration of greed and the goodness of greed.
No, I think it is cautionary. It's Oliver Stone, isn't it?
It's Oliver Stone, who you'd imagine.
He doesn't really tell stories where people aren't being punished. Last time I checked.
It's true. I was born on the 4th of July.
Oh God, that was a slug, wasn't it?
I actually never watched it.
Oh,
I never watched it. I watched
went
the
to see
JFK
that.
one.
You see, this is where we're different.
Platoon.
Different. I know. I watched Platoon.
Platoon was a good film. I'm looking forward to Supergirl, though. Have you watched the trailer?
I have watched the trailer. That looks quite good. I'm worried about the dog already.
So am I. I thought they've ripped off John Wick.
Even though it is a computer dog and not a real dog, I'm still
It's
worried.
not a computer dog.
It's a computer dog.
Oh no, you're ruining everything. You're ruining everything in my life. Ruining everything.
No, listen, there's a real dog on set, but they did a computer dog for the face so it could be a little bit more acty, which I think is a shame because there was a horror film. Oh,
That dog's
I think
very
it's called...
Frida-like, that dog, by the way.
Yeah, really?
Yeah,
oh, I can only think of Frida covered in beef juices.
That's. By the way, I'm talking about Frida. Was Lil and I? We had a dog. Well, Lil had a dog that I joined. No, that I acquired. I guess when Lil and I.
She adopted you.
Yes. I mean, a little bit slow at the beginning. She was not sure at all. Neither was I.
Fair dues.
Frankly.
Fair dues.
Yeah. But anyway, Frida was a toy terrier, toy poodle fox terrier cross.
Oh, excellent sized dog.
Very
There was I just remember the name of the horror film is called Good Boy, and it was very much it got all the plaudits because the dog was considered to be an excellent actor. Hello.
Oh, go on. Sorry,
I was just telling you about the dog. Did you just
got all the plaudits?
No, I was just saying.
Yeah. Well, you might have.
Because the dog was a very good actor. Yeah, anyway, so there we go. That's it. Anyway, 1991, New York. Doesn't smell of dope.
1991. Doesn't.
Or did I say 81? 91,
yeah,
sorry.
91. So I was there. So in that time, so as I say, New York was still pretty rough. It was coming out of its roughest, but it felt edgy for sure. And I was drinking at a pub. In fact, it was either the Stonewall pub, known for a very particular event.
First brick thrown at Stonewall by Marsha P. Johnson. This was the moment where gay rights really first sort of started to assert themselves in the US.
There you go. So I was either at the Stonewall pub, because why wouldn't I be? And also, or I was in that area. It was very much in that area. And I was having a conversation with an American man. And we were talking about something. And I don't remember what it was. This is a good story, isn't it? And he goes, "Oh, you're an idealist." And it was the first time in my life when I thought, "Oh, that's not a good thing."
Oh, interesting.
That he was, let's say, immersed in realism, in reality, and I was floating around in ideals. And it was. I wanted to hear your thoughts. Is that enough of the story? I don't think there's anything more to tell other than, whoa, wait, hang on. Being an idealist is not a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think we're back to midlifing 101, aren't we?
Go on.
Them and us.
Oh.
It's the thing where we understand ourselves in relationship or in opposition to the thing that we're looking at. and we do love to label. That idea of isms being a thing to either cling to or push against. So, oh, you're that ism. No, I'm not that ism. I'm this ism.
Okay, so there was something he was calling me, he was effectively giving me the idealism label.
Yes.
And
yeah.
And it wasn't that I was saying I'm not, or that I somehow resisted that. I was going, wait, that's not a good thing?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
So it's like I think we agreed on our labels.
I understand what you're talking about there. It's not so much that the idealism wasn't felt; it was more that the hang about. When did that become bad?
Yeah, exactly.
That was, yeah,
like it was like a grown up moment. Oh, now I'm no longer of an age where I can maintain idealism or be idealistic because we live in the real world, etc. That was the shock.
Such a funny thing. I was walking down the hill from our flat here towards the river, and you may have noticed when you visited, Simon, when it wasn't raining. The hill.
It's only raining inside, I think.
Inside. The hills are really, really steep hills. So there's this one hill that goes down to the river, and you're looking at a quite tall building, but you're looking at its roof as you come down the hill, because it's at the bottom of the hill. Yeah. And somebody had written on the roof, Antifa.
Yeah.
And this was before Trump.
Always read Antifa, but anyway, go on.
Yeah. Well, Antifa, it makes more sense, because that's how you would say it, I think. But I think this was before Trump was really getting his knickers in a twist about the idea of Antifa.
That was in 2016, wasn't it? 17 was when it was during his first term, which actually in retrospect was a bastion of stability and normality.
Jesus Christ, I know.
Yeah, because it was during those, when he said he was taken out of context terribly for this moment when he said there are good and bad people on both sides, when he was talking about the people with their sticks,
Yeah.
It was in, I think it was in Virginia when, someone drove a car into some... Anyway.
Oh, yeah. But I think I was reflecting upon that, because it's still there to this day, it's still written on the roof, and I reflect on how Antifa became a thing that was somehow bad. In much the same way that Idealist... Because if you think about what it's short for... Anti-fascist. I'm kind of like, yeah? Are we not all wearing that badge anymore? Is that... When did... And so I think... I think, you just experienced the topsy-turviness of language in the world a nice, comfortable 40 years earlier than everybody else. Because I find myself just going, yeah, but most of the things that have ism on the end of it that were bad are now good, and things that were good are now bad. Because people seem to be embracing stuff. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm glad that you were an idealist, and I hope that you still are.
So it's funny because the ism thing, just correct me or help me out here. When an ism is placed on something, it basically, what does it do to it linguistically? It means there's a kind of it's an ideal or a set of ideas that are collated around. What does it?
I think the notion of an ism suggests that there is, if not written down explicitly, then certainly tacitly there is a manifesto. There are a set of beliefs and ideas. Yeah, there is something that we can all collectively get behind or push against.
The fascism one is a curious thing because I had a conversation not so long ago with a friend that was in Italy who was saying, well, I don't think Mussolini was. Fascism in Italy was all bad. And I found myself, had that little moment going, what? Because, it was like, oh, well, really good for roads.
But that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we can say the same thing about Hitler. Because the trains ran on time.
Exactly. So I found myself in that conversation going, oh, you've just said, because, a defining feature of fascism is that it's undemocratic. That is,
yeah.
So that's okay if you get good roads. And so anyway, so the fascism one's a curious one. But am I still an idealist? I I think it definitely is not like it was when I was, whatever I was then, 22, 23 years old. That, the idea of usury, for example, I just thought the idea of making money, from the interest and making money off the work of other people, I still do think it's terrible.
Yeah.
But I think I'm much more pragmatic than I was then. And also far less strident in my views. Far less strident. But
So a pragmatist rather than an idealist.
pragmatism, I'll go with edism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, but it's pragmatism with notes of idealism.
Right.
I think that's how I would. What about you?
I don't think I was ever an idealist. I don't think that I think probably I am becoming more sort of, am I? Yeah. I think I'm becoming more politically concerned the older I get. So I'm living Benjamin Button like.
We also we weren't politicized in those days like people who are now in their 20s are now. We were far less politicized, I think.
It felt as though the things that we kicked against were more obvious.
Like nuclear war.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is just an artifact of getting old. Or older. We're not old, but we're older for sure. Maybe we're old.
We're definitely older. I can agree with that.
Well, definitely, yeah, we're older. But it just, the world feels... It's interesting, isn't it? It's when you do the kind of the macro version, the world feels harder and harsher and crueler. But then up close, I still constantly encounter kindness and softness and gentility and just goodness. And so there's that balance of trying to remind yourself that there is a story that's being told to you that is always the lowest common denominator. It's always the worst case scenario. And then there's the people that you bump into on the street.
Yeah, and that's well,
never was it thus, I know.
Yeah, it's just exacerbated by clickbaity / algorithmically driven attention economy stuff. But I don't. It's funny if I think about. I guess it's just not a question that's able to be answered. And the question is or would be, I wonder how safe you felt as a, let's say, early teenager, or maybe a bit younger for you. I'm thinking peak Cold War, right?
Yeah, I can tell you exactly. I was 8 years old, and I remember standing we'd gone to pick up my babysitter. A woman called... Oh, she wouldn't have been a woman. She probably would have been a girl. But, to me, she was a fully grown human being. A woman called Gillian.
A big shout out to Gillian.
Yeah. And so she lived on the other side of town. And so what would happen is that my mum and dad would pick her up at the beginning of the evening, drive her to my house. She'd stop in the spare room overnight because obviously they were pissed by the time they got home because this was the 70s and 80s. This would be in the very early 80s. And so then her family would collect her the next day. Or my dad would drive her or whatever. So I remember waiting for her to get her coat. And for some reason, it was an unusual day. I'd been taken with her. I'd been taken with her. I'd been taken with them to go and collect her.
Yeah.
And
she wasn't. It was definitely not a puffer jacket she was putting on, was it?
No, it would have been a sort of probably a dropped-shouldered denim jacket from 1981. I would have thought. Nice. I remember she saved up some of her babysitting money, and she went to Fidel Sassoon and got a haircut, and she was really disappointed.
Oh no!
Yeah,
I wonder if she's still carrying that. I wonder if she's
good.
Sort of carrying that disappointment.
I hope not, because she was really, really upset because she spent I think it was something crazy like £60.
In those days.
in those days, it was a lot of money, and she was really unhappy
it's
with
a lot of money now for a haircut, even though
Yeah.
I spent a period of my life going to very expensive haircuts in London.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I had my beard trimmed the day before yesterday. No, 3 days ago. It cost me €3 to get my beard trimmed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not in Totnes now, are we? Okay, so...
No, I was standing in her front room waiting for her to get her coat on, and the news went from an attack by the IRA to anxiety about nuclear war. And I was absolutely taken out at the knees, because it was just like this local sense of terror to this global sense of terror, and just thinking like, hang about, I'm not safe in either place.
That's because of course I didn't. Because New Zealand, right? So even Chernobyl, what year was that? 83?
Ooh, a little bit
85?
Later, maybe 85.
Even 6.
Yeah, I think it was mid-80s, yeah.
Even when Chernobyl happened, because of course the way in which it sort of leaked, in all senses of the word, beyond the confines of the then Soviet Union was, because other countries started getting these readings of radiation. And so it took a long time before Russia or the Soviet Union even admitted that it had happened. When I say a long time, it was days. But anyway, even that situation it's so remote when you live in New Zealand. And so I never had a sense I always had a sense, even amongst those sort of the turbulence of that era, or the turbulent aspects of that era, that I was unsafe. But it sounds like it's different if you'd lived in this country just because of proximity, and also, as you're saying, because the IRA bombings were happening and all this, a sort of sense that...
Yeah, it was... There was this sense that everything was coming apart in front of you. And I think a lot of that, you talk about algorithmically driven anxiety now. There was no balance in the way that things were being reported. This is terrorism. There's no debate about why the IRA were enacting what they were doing on mainland
England,
Britain. England, effectively, yeah. There was no discussion about that. So that was lost in... I was a lot older. I think it was university age that I started to talk to people who were from Ireland and Northern Ireland, and starting to go, oh, hang about. So this is more complicated than I was being told by the BBC. And yeah, so I think that level of... like, this is a bad thing, this is another bad thing, this is a local bad thing, people died, this is a global bad thing, people were probably going to die. I remember being very, very anxious as a child.
This is also part of that question was, I wonder what it's like to be 13, 14 now, given the... thing is, I think partly because even though we were I lived in quite a politically charged or politically aware family, there was a lot of conversations about politics. Politics mostly passed me by, and so my sort of thought is, I wonder what it's like. Is it possible living in this country now, in the United Kingdom now, with all that's going on, to have that kind of I'll just call it sort of political innocence or political bypass. That is, you got to bypass those things because you were busy just being a kid.
That's interesting, because I think probably there is an algorithmic echo chamber that happens now. That we know that the stories that young women are being fed are different than the stories that young men are being fed.
Well, the stories that you are being fed and the ones I'm, it's even at the level of the individual. But yes,
yeah. But I'm sure I've said before, there was a couple who were sitting on a sofa. These were older than teenagers. They were young adults, and they were dating, and they were sitting next to one another, and they were looking at the same story on Instagram. And the thing that they found really fascinating was that the comments underneath were so radically different.
Yeah.
They were being fed different comments. It wasn't that they saw a different story, which obviously we know happens. But when they were looking at the same story, they were saying, oh, what about this comment? What comment? It's the first one. No, it's not. The first one is this. And then them comparing one another's comments and just going, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
This is really.
Yeah. I don't.
So
yeah, sorry, go on.
No. So I was just thinking that idea of like kind of the idea of, is it possible to live in the world now and not know what's happening? I guess probably it is, just like it always has been, because your eyes are pointed towards the things
That you
they're
click on.
pointed towards. Yeah.
Yeah, or that you've trained a series of algorithms to send to you. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, oh dear, I don't want to mention the manosphere, so I'm just not going to for now, because it saddens me so deeply. But yeah, I wonder. There's the kind of oblivion of that, or the obliviousness of that. But then every now and again, I think we might be living in a simulation.
Huh. I can't imagine anybody would make a simulation where I have a cough. It just feels so boring. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm going to write code that makes this person have a cough. Or like, you know, a badly timed fart. These are things that just feel so very animal.
Yeah, as opposed to well-timed.
Yeah, well, a well-timed fart is always funny, but a badly timed fart can be frustrating. I find my animal stink so prevalent. I always have, and and maybe that's because one of my best friends is an animal. I'm talking about Jeffrey Miller, the dog here.
Yes, good.
And I don't see very much difference between me and him. The idea that I am in something which is a simulation just makes me go, no, I feel so base.
See you.
I feel that's definitely a see you moment. Bye.
See you.